So we're going to go back again to the biomechanics, the physics. Every action equal an opposite reaction. You hear me say impact, impact. When we hit the ground, what comes back up at us, that force, up to 2.5 times my body weight is coming right back up at me. So if we look, every time we land, what's coming, that force, that ground reaction force is coming towards my center of mass. So as that force comes back up at the chain, it's going to be dispersed different places. When it comes to understanding what it is, also when we treat it, it makes sense. We can really divvy up how much of this force that our body takes when we hit, and then we can also divvy up where it goes. Can it go to the muscles, which are a little bit more prepared for that impact, versus the bones, versus cartilage, versus ligaments, etc. So when that force comes up, it creates different forces on the body. This bottom bone, the tibia, this is my handy dandy tibia, every time we land, every single time the foot hits the ground, it creates this bowing effect. This is a left here, it's creating this. Imagine if I literally do this thousands of times. I'm constantly putting stress on this one particular area. Different people's bones are going to be shaped differently, different lengths, different widths, different densities of material. This can change with time. You get where I'm going with this. But what can happen is over time, if we get too much stress to this area too soon, we can get injured. Let's make it a little bit more scientific. Let's imagine you've got these 3 different zones. So you've got the tissue being that bone. You've got the Gucci zone. I had to look up to make sure that's what that was. I'm trying to appeal to a younger audience. Gucci means good. We're good. Warning is, proceed with some caution. We could be getting into some trouble here. This tibia is starting to not get happy. And then just flat out injury. True medial tibial stress syndrome. So everybody's zones are different. Some people have a greater Gucci zone. Some people have a greater injury zone, or it happens sooner. Okay, so run 1. Again, quarantine hit, haven't ran outside in a while, and you go out. 10 minutes, 20 minutes, 30 minutes. This is our chart. Imagine this just keeps going. If you go out, the longer that we continue to go, that force, what's happening right here at that tibia where we're getting that stress, it keeps going up. And suddenly now we're out of the Gucci zone. We're starting to get a little bit warny. It's not getting too happy. And before you know it, luckily we get tired, we stop, and we stop right before the injury zone. Then the rest of the day, the next day, you let it recover. This slowly, the tibia starts to get a little bit happier. It starts to go down. Here's what happens. Remember, this is a continuum. If you go out that next day, that next morning, and the tibia hasn't had time to heal, you're healing every second. If it doesn't have time to heal, where you start is you're almost starting in the warning zone. You're getting out of that Gucci zone. And so if you go, you even did less today, but because you're running harder, higher frequency, you're hitting the ground harder, you're doing sprints, and you play basketball with your friends afterwards, it goes way up. The slope of how fast we take that goes up. So we were quickly, even in less duration, we're now in that injury zone. So this is what we mean by too much too soon. What happens as you let your body adapt to this with time, with this continuum? Here's what happens. This is the adaptation. Look at that Gucci zone. It's enormous. I think we all want a Gucci zone. I don't know if I can say that on TV or even Instagram. Anyways, this gets bigger with time, with tissue adaptation. We talked about the blood alcohol level, and as we drink, you get more tolerance to it, where you can have more, have less of an effect on your body. With time, this happens. This adaptation happens. Under normal circumstances, this happens. Now, look, I'm going 40 minutes, and I'm just then now starting to get in that warning zone. You listen to it. So we're always trying to stay within this Gucci zone and maybe even slightly in the warning zone, but using that as a reminder or a check engine light, or, hey, I need to listen to my body. There's some things we can push through, and there's some things we cannot.